Disabled from sharing the screen, so if you could give me permission to do that. And I just like to ask everyone to turn their videos off and their mics off, as Ustadh Bilal mentioned, just to help with the stability of the connection. And if you have any questions, then you can always unmute your mic and ask the questions as we go along. Of the Arabic course booklet. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you all are well, and I'd like to start by welcoming you all to the Arabic module of the Ijazah program. So this Arabic course structure, as Ustadh Bilal mentioned, this has been put together by us and it's been based on a couple of other books, primarily the Arabic tutors, as some of you may have heard of if you've done any Arabic before, and also the Medina Arabic series as well. So it's been based from those, and we put it together in our own style or our own way, just to make it easier, as we feel that we start from the small and we build up on the small and eventually go on to the bigger things, and then we can string together sentences and grammatical components within the Arabic language itself. So it's 3 levels of Arabic. So in the first year, inshallah, we aim to get level 1 done, which is the course booklet that you have in front of you. And so in second year, we'll aim to get level 2 done. And likewise, the third year, we aim to get level 3 done, inshallah. Now, Arabic is generally a very demanding subject, so I feel that I just need to give everybody a heads up as to what they can expect from the course, so they can better prepare themselves to get the most out of this course and to be productive in that. Because with work, you have to put the work in to get something out of it. And Arabic is one of those things where the more work you put into it, the more you get out of it. So it is demanding in the sense that there's a lot of concepts involved in it. The concept themselves, once you understand them, they are quite easy to digest. So it's a matter of gaining that understanding at first. And once you've understood it, then you need to commit it to memory. So there's a lot of memorizing involved. So memorization of a concept, memorization of vocabulary as well. There's going to be some vocabulary in your homework booklet. So after each lesson, there will be a vocab box allocated to each lesson. And you will be expected to, along with completing the homework exercises related to the lesson that we complete, you'll be expected to memorize all the vocab in those boxes as well. So, and it's important to also be regular in your attendance to the class without a miss as well. And I hope all of you do make an effort in doing that, because it only takes one lesson that you miss, and then it's easy to fall behind in this thing. It's something that can pile up and stack up very quickly. So it's important to stay on top of your attendance along with your homework as well, and your memorization and your revision of the Arabic lesson. And inshallah, if anyone does ever get stuck or feel they need extra help or extra clarification on anything, then they can always reach out to me. Hopefully, inshallah, we hope to get a WhatsApp group for the Arabic going, and you can all be asking questions on that WhatsApp group as well. So we can always have discussions on that group and seek clarification where needed. So with that, inshallah, we'll make a start into the Arabic level 1 Nahu. Now it says on the front of this book, it mentions the term Nahu, as you see over there. Now that's because Nahu is one of the 2 main sciences of Arabic. Within Arabic, you have many different branches, and Nahu and Sarf are the most common ones of them. And Nahu deals with the actual compositions, so putting together words so that they make sense and applying the rules. That's basically Nahu. And it'll make more sense as you go along with the Arabic and you get a better understanding of Nahu in general. So Nahu is grammar basically. And it's knowing how to put together words that make grammatical sense. Okay, so that's what Nahu is. It's putting together different words in Arabic so that we make full sentences and knowing how to apply all the rules that relate to that as well. Another way of describing it is knowing what endings go on each word within the sentence and what role the words play within the sentence. And this will make more sense, like I said, as we go along with the course. That's one of the two primary branches of the Arabic language, Nahu, which is grammar, and the other one is as-sarf. Sarfu, which can be translated as etymology. Where Nahwu is concerned with putting together different words and making grammatical sense, Sarf is not concerned about putting together different words. Sarf is concerned about looking at the word in and of itself, breaking it down, finding out its meaning, and finding out where that word comes from and what the meaning of its roots are, and how the meaning of that word relates back to its roots. Again, it might not make sense at this stage, but as we go into it, it'll make more sense. So these are the two primary sciences. They're called an-nahwu and as-sarfu. And this is what we will be covering during this first year of Arabic, inshallah. And you can see on the content page, we have the Nahwu and all the subjects that are related to the Nahwu itself. And then you have Sarf. So the course booklet itself is divided into two. The first part is Nahwu and the second part is Sarf. And those are the two primary sciences of the Arabic language. On the first page, we have the overview. And we'll go into a bit more detail into that as we go along. So what that's basically saying is, if you look at the Arabic language as a whole, or if you open the Quran up, for example, and every word that you look at in the Arabic language will either fall under one of the three families, one of the three groups. If you look at the Arabic language, you'll say, and every word you come across will either be a noun or a verb or a particle. And noun in Arabic is called ismun. You don't have to know these terms. You need to know that there are three types, noun, verb, and particles. It's good to know the terms because I will be making reference to them as we go along with the course. At this early stage, they are not that important just yet, but it's good to know them for later on when we start making more use of these Arabic terms. So if you look at the Arabic language as a whole, you'll find that whatever word you look at in Arabic, whether it be qul, or whether it be ya, or whether it be al-mu'minun, or whether it be fi, or whether it be ala, or whatever word you come across in the Quran or in the Arabic language as a whole, you can say that this word is either a noun, or it's either a verb, or it's either a particle. Meaning every single word you come across in the Arabic language will be one of those three things, and there won't be a fourth. Everything can be one of those three things. I'll give an example. In Arabic, we have the word mu'minun, which means a believer. Mu'minun means a believer. In Arabic, mu'minun falls under ismun. It's a noun. We will learn how to identify what is a noun, what is a verb, what is a particle during the early stages of Nahu. So this is just an example to show that. And then we have another word, says Zahaba. Dhahaba in Arabic is a verb. It's a fi'lun. So it's a verb. And then we have fi, which means in something, in the house, for example. And fi is an example of a harf in Arabic. And we will learn later how to identify each one of those. So let's take the ayah of Al-Fatiha. Alhamdu lillahi rabbil alameen. So Alhamdu is a noun. Li is a particle, a harf. Allah, lafzul jalala, is an ism, is a noun. Rabbi is also a noun, ism. And alameen is also a noun, ism. So that's what we mean when we say any word that you come across the Arabic language will either be a noun, or it will either be a verb, or it will either be a particle. And there won't be a fourth to any of those. And when you look at the course book, that's what the first bit is explaining. When you look at the overview of the Arabic language, the first bit branches off into three. Just to give you a general overview as to where we are heading, it's important to have a general direction as you go along and build the blocks as you go along. So we're starting with the Arabic language, and we're saying there's three parts to it. It's either a noun, either a verb, or either a particle. Every word in the Arabic language is either one of those three things. What we are now going to do is we're going to head off into this direction here. We're going to be looking at nouns and breaking it down in further detail. So this is what primarily the first couple of months we'll be dealing with, nouns only. Then verbs will come after that. And particle will come halfway through as we go along with nouns as well. So that's the general mind map of what we will be covering as we go along with the Arabic course. So we said in the Arabic language there are three types of word: ismun, fi'lun, harfun. Verb, a noun, verb, or particle. What is a noun in English or in Arabic is even? To put it simply, a noun is a naming word. A noun is a naming word. Naming word. Verb is action. And particle or harf is other than a noun or verb. If it's not a noun, if it's not a verb, it's a particle. And it's something that makes no sense unless something comes after it. In the course booklet, it breaks down examples. So a noun can be a person, like Muhammad, Amina, Zainab. It can be a place, like Pakistan, Oldham, Canada, Toronto, etc. It can be a thing, an object, like a book, pen, notebook, laptop, computer. It can be an idea, happiness, sadness, death, life. It can be an adjective, big, small, etc. It can be an adverb, slowly, and more. Anything that's naming something, that will be considered as a noun. A fi'lun is an action. A fi'lun is an action. And it has a tense attached to it. And there'll be three tenses, either past, present, or future. And this is all English. We all are familiar with this. Past, present, or future. An example of the past would be he went. That would be a fi'lun in the past, a verb in the past. An example of the present is he is going, and the future, he will go. These are all verbs. So it's an action word, an action involved. Eating, he ate, he went, he slept, he drew, he rode, etc. And then harfun, a word that makes no sense unless a word comes after it. An example of that would be in. In what? See, the idea is incomplete. The idea is incomplete. You're saying in something, in what? It makes no sense on its own. In the house. So it requires something to come after it. It requires something to come after it to give it a complete sense to it or a complete meaning to it. Another example would be on. On what? On the desk, for example. So in and on are examples of particles. They are words that make no sense unless something comes after it. And that's just a general definition, just a general definition. As we go along with the Arabic course, we will, every time we come across a particle, we will say this is a particle, and that is something you will just simply commit to memory. So for example, I tell you now, fi means, as I mentioned earlier, fi means in, and it's a harf in Arabic. Now you will commit that to memory. When we come to discuss this in detail, you will commit it to memory and you will remember going forward that whenever I see fi, I know it's a harfun. That's simply how it works. And that's, this definition here is a general definition just to help you grasp the concept. All the examples I've given so far of a noun, a verb, or particle, they've all been in English. When we come to the relevant lessons, then we will look at the Arabic examples in detail. So now we've broken down, there's 3 types of words in Arabic. They are ismun, fi'lun, harfun. Ismun, fi'lun, harfun. So noun, verb, and particle. Now what we're going to do is, we're going to go and branch off into the noun. We're going to discuss the noun in detail. The verb and particle will come later. Now for the noun, we say it has 4 properties. 4 properties. And I'm just going to list them there now. So number 1 is case ending, or known as i'rab in Arabic. And number 2 is gender. Number 3 is number. And number 4 is type. When we say properties, we mean that there will be something about the noun that will allow you to identify that it is a noun, or it will have these attributes and characteristics within them. And there will be 4 types in there, and you can identify each one. It's a bit like knowing the properties of a car. If you know what a car looks like, the individual properties, it has 4 wheels, it has a certain height, it has a certain body, it has 4 windows, or etc. If you know all the properties of a car, then whenever you see something that matches those properties, you can identify it as a car. It's the same thing with the noun. We're going to start describing all the different the properties of the noun, so that you know each and individual property of the noun, and every time you see that, you will be able to identify that this is a noun in Arabic. And there's 4 properties. Number 1 is case ending. Now, the term itself is a giveaway. We will be looking at the end of the noun to identify exactly what property it holds. Case ending. Number 2, gender. And number 3, number. Number 4, type. So by case ending, we mean a noun will either be raf or nasb or jar. And I'll explain those terms. Raf, nasb, and jar, that will come. By gender, we mean either it's going to be masculine or feminine. By number, we mean it's either going to be singular, which is 1, either going to be dual, which is 2, or it's either going to be plural, more than 2. This is where Arabic is different to English, because in English we don't have dual, we just have singular and plural. We just have singular and plural. Singular in English means one, plural means two or more in English. But in Arabic, there's three. There's singular, dual, and plural. So singular in Arabic is one, and dual in Arabic is two. Plural is three or more, three plus in Arabic. And by type, we can describe a noun either as being definite, or indefinite. And that will all come later. This is just an overview as to what's coming ahead. So to go back, to wind back, looking at the Arabic language, there's three types of words in Arabic. They are ismun, fi'lun, harfun. And we are now heading down under ismun. And we're going to look at all these things here when it comes to the ismun. So we've said an ismun is a naming word. A fi'lun is an action. A harfun is a word that makes no sense unless something comes after it. We're going and diverging into the ismun itself. We say that it has four properties by which you can identify it, and you can describe them with these four properties. Number one is case ending. Number two is number. Number three is gender. Number four is type. And it breaks off what we mean by case ending. So when we talk about the property of case ending of a noun, we can say it's either raf, or it's either nasb, or it's either jar. And when we talk about the number of a noun, we can say it's either singular, dual, or plural. And when we describe the property of gender of a noun, we can say it's either masculine or it's either feminine. And when we talk about the type, the property of the type of the noun, we can say it's either indefinite or definite. And that will come later. First of all, we will now look into property number one, which is case ending. Now, case ending, as I said earlier, is a giveaway. It's all to do with the ending of the noun. So what do I mean by that? Now, if you open the Mus'haf up, the Quran, if you look at Alhamdu Lillahi Rabbil Alameen. Right. So let's take the word Alhamdu, for example. If you look at the end of the word Alhamdu, it has a Dhamma, or a pesh, as some may know it by. Dhamma is the U sound. Fatha is the A sound, and Kasra is the E sound. So let me go through those terminologies with you as well. So that is something you definitely need to know. I will be using them very frequently. So Dhamma, when I say Dhamma, I am referring to this symbol here. When I say Fatha, this is not in your course booklet. So if you don't know this, make a note of it. Fatha, I am referring to that symbol there on top of the letter, the A sound. And when I say Kasra, I'm referring to that symbol here, which is below the letter, the E sound. And when I say Sukoon, I am referring to that circular symbol that you see on top of the letter. So Alhamdu has a Dhamma at the end. Lillahi has a Kasra at the end, a Kasra. Rabbi has a Kasra at the end. Alamina has a Fatha at the end. Alamina has a Fatha at the end. Now the question is, why does this have a Dhamma? Why does that have a kasra at the end? Why does Rabbi have a kasra at the end? Why does Alamina have a fatha at the end? Or why does it have the ya and noon at the end? This is all to do with the property of case ending. The case ending will differ depending on the role the word is playing in the sentence. What all these are indicators as to what role the word is playing in the sentence. When you understand what role the word is playing in the sentence, then you understand the meaning conveyed by that sentence. I'll use another example to explain that. So the ayah says, إِذْ حَضَرَ يَعْقُوبَ الْمَوْتُ. Hadara is a fi'l in Arabic which means to attend or to come, means to come. Yaqub is Yaqub alayhi salam, and al-mautu is death. Al-mautu means death. In order to figure out what this ayah means, I need to know about roles of that words can play in the sentence. And I'm going to give you two roles just to understand the concept of why case ending is important. We are doing this to understand why case ending is important. And what does case ending tell us? If you look at Yaqub, you see that Yaqub has a fatha at the end. And if you see that al-mautu has a dhamma at the end. What that tells you is al-mautu is the one who's doing the action. So now the action is hadara. The verb is hadara, which means to come. Al-mautu, the fact that we have a dhamma al-mautu, it tells you that the role the word al-mautu is playing is the doer of the action. So the death is the one that's coming. When death came. Now Yaquba has a fatha at the end. That's an indication that this is the one that the action is being done to. The one that the action is being done to. That's known as the detail. So we have the verb, the doer, and the detail. So al-mautu is the doer of the action, which means that the death is coming, the one that's doing the action of coming. And Yaquba is the one that is being done to, the one that whom death is coming to. Hadara means in the past tense, he came. So when death came to Yaqub, and I understood the meaning of this ayah because I knew that when I see a dhamma at the end, that means that is the one who's doing the action. I know that it's playing the role of the doer of the action. And when I see the fatha at the end of Yaqub, I know that is the one who the action is being done to. Because the Yaqub is playing the role of the detail. So don't worry about those terms, verb, doer, and detail. It's just what we're trying to take away from this is why is it important to know about the endings of nouns. So to put it simply, it's because by knowing the ending of the noun, we will be able to understand the meaning of the sentence. We'll be able to understand the meaning of the sentence. Without knowing the endings and what role each word is playing, we will not be able to translate or understand the sentence. So we shall go back to the book. So we're looking at nouns. It has 4 properties: case ending, number, gender, and type. And we are now going to go into further detail about case ending. So you understand now why it's important to know about the case ending of noun. It's so that we can understand the function or the role each word is playing in the sentence. And from that, we can then translate and understand the whole sentence. Here, it shows a similar example as to what I just covered earlier. Let's look at this. It says, Daraba Muhammadun Hamidan. Daraba means hit, to hit. Muhammadun is Muhammad. Hamidan is Hamid. So you would think this means Muhammad hit Hamid. And then example number 2, Daraba Muhammadan Hamidun. Daraba Muhammadan Hamidun. And you would think that also means Muhammad hit Hamid based on the order. Muhammad came first, then Hamid. And then Hamidan darabahu Muhammadun. Hamidan darabahu Muhammadun. And you think that would mean Hamid hit Muhammad. Hamid hit Muhammad. That's what you would think. But Arabic is not as simple as that. It's not about following the order to work out who's doing the action and who the action is being done to. It's all about case ending. We have to understand case ending. So here that's why it's highlighted in red to show you that's where you should be looking to work out what the whole sentence means. You shouldn't be just following the order. So here you'd be thinking, hit Muhammad Hamid. So Muhammad hit Hamid, or Muhammad hit Hamid, and Hamid hit Muhammad. Just looking at the order, the Hamid came first, so he's the one who's doing the action, then hit, and then Muhammad came second, so he's the one the hitting is being done to. Well, that would be wrong. Arabic doesn't work like that. It works by looking at the ending. As I explained earlier, when you look at the Dhamma, that tells you who's doing the action. When you look at the Fatha or Fathatain, that's two Fathas. This one is called Dhammatain, two Dhammas, and that one is called Fathatain, which is two Fathas. And then we look at this one here, there's Fathatain here and Dhammatain there. That's Fathatain here and that's Dhammatain there. If you see Dhamma or Dhammatain, again, I'm going to reiterate this, that tells you that that is the one doing the action. And when you see Fatha or Fathatain, that tells you the one who the action is being done to. So here, Muhammad has a Dhamma, he's the one doing the action. So that means Muhammad hit. Hamidan got a Fatha or Fathatain, he's the one the action is being done to. So that means Muhammad hit Hamid. Number 2, Daraba Muhammadan Hamidun. This one, Muhammad has a Fathatain on it this time. He's the one who the action is being done to. And Hamidun has a Dhammatain on it. He's the one who's doing the action. So that means Hamid hit Muhammad. You'd look at the order. If you didn't know about the case ending, you just look at the order and you think that would mean Muhammad hit Hamid. But actually it means Hamid hit Muhammad. How do we work that out? By looking at the case ending. That's why case ending is important. And then the third one, Hamidan darabahu Muhammadun. So again, you think it means Hamid hit Muhammad by looking at the order. That's how English works. We look at the order. Hamid came first, hit. He's the one who did the hitting, Muhammad. And Muhammad is the one being hit. But in Arabic, the order doesn't matter. It's about the case ending. Case ending tells you the role that the word is playing in the sentence. So here we work out Hamid has a Fathatain. He's the one who the action is being done to. So he's the one who's being hit. And here Muhammad has a Dhammatain. He's the one who's doing the action. So that means Muhammad hit Hamid. That's the correct translation. And that tells you the translation here. So we know why case ending is important. Now we need to learn what we mean by the case ending and what are the different types of case ending. So we will now look at all that. And it can be summarized in this table here. When you look at this table, it says masculine at the top because we're dealing with masculine nouns here. All these nouns here are masculine. Muslimun means one male Muslim. Muslimani means two male Muslims. Muslimuna means three or more male Muslim. Remember, I said in numbers, when it comes to numbers in Arabic, we have singular, dual, and plural. As you can see there, this is singular, that's dual, and that's plural. Singular means one, dual means two male Muslims. Plural means three or more. Muslimuna means three or more male Muslims. And this is all masculine. So that's why we're saying male Muslims. Here, case ending, there's three types. So whenever we talk about case ending in Arabic, so if I ask you, what's the case ending of this word? You will respond with one of three. Either it's raf'un, nasbun, or jarrun. Like if I ask you, what's the color of this apple? You can respond with red, green, or pink. It's the same thing with case ending. It has three properties, three attributes. When we talk about case ending, it has three attributes. You can either say it's raf'un, nasbun, or jarrun. Raf'un, nasbun, or jarrun. And that's the order you should place it in your head. So when you have a mental picture of the table in your head, you always think raf'un is first, nasbun is next, jarrun is next. And when you're reciting the table as well, you always recite in that order. By reciting the raf'un first, then the nasbun, and then the jarrun. Then you have the singular, then dual and plural. Muslimun means one male Muslim, and that's raf'un. Musliman means one male Muslim as well. The ending doesn't change the meaning of the word. The ending does not change the meaning of the word. Look at this. Muslimun means one male Muslim. Musliman means one male Muslim. Muslimin also mean the same thing. They all mean the same thing. The ending does not change the meaning of the word. All it does, it highlights that this word is playing a particular role in the sentence. And all these roles we will talk about later. Right now, it's just identifying the signs, the case ending signs. That's what we're looking at right now. So when you see an or u at the end of the noun, then when you want to describe the case ending of that noun, which is one of the four properties of the noun, you say it's raf'un. So let me repeat that again. When you see an or u, like muslimun or muslimu, then you say it is raf'un. When you want to describe the case ending, you say it's raf'un or raf to stop on it. And then when you see a fatha or fathatain, so an or a or an, then you say, with regards to the case ending of the noun, you say it is nasbun. It is nasbun. And then when you see a kasra or kasratain, like the e or the in at the end of the noun, then you say, with regards to the case ending of the noun, that it is jarun. I hope that's all clear. If somebody doesn't understand that, please do unmute your mic and let me know. I'm going to do some examples and hopefully test you all on that as well. And get a few people responding. So I'll put it up here. If you see, so raf on, the sign of raf is either this u, which is dhamma, or dhammatain, on. The sign of nasb at the end of a noun is either a or an. And the sign of jar is either e or in. So when we talk about case ending, what that means is you look at the end of the noun. You have to look at the end of the noun, and you have to look for these signs. If you see a u or on, then you say the case ending of this noun is raf. That's how you describe it. And if you see an a or an at the end of it, then you say the sign of the case ending of this noun is nasbun. If you see an e or in at the end of the noun, then you say that it is jarrun. So I'm going to bring up the ayah again. Alhamdu lillahi rabbil alameen. So see who we got here. So Justine, I'll pick on you. Do you want to tell me what the case ending of alhamdu is, and just explain how you know that? So if Justine, you could unmute your mic, Justine Johari. Okay. Let's go with Roy. Roy, you there? You could unmute your mic and let me know what the case ending of alhamdu is.
Rafa.
Good, excellent. How did you know that?
because it got dhamma
Good,
at the end.
excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
Shukran. Fine.
Very good. So what he's doing is he's looking at the end of the word alhamdu. When we say what's the case ending, it's very simple. Look at the end, the case ending, look at the end, and he sees a dhamma there. And he knows from memory that dhamma or the u or the on are signs of raf, as we have up here. So this needs to be committed to memory now. The u and on is a sign of raf. The a and is a sign of nasb. The e and in is a sign of jar. Well done. And if we can have Ansari tell me what is the case ending of lillahi.
Jar,
Jar, excellent. And how do you know that?
because it ends with a kasra.
Good, excellent. It ends with a kasra, the e at the end. So again, jar, the sign of jar is e o n. And if we can have Halim Jamal, waba Rabbi. What's the case ending of Rabbi?
Again, jar.
Excellent. And it's the same sign, the kasra at the end. And if we can have somebody, Wajahad Hussein, Alamina. What's the case ending of Alamina?
Alamina, so it's nasbun.
Good. So just based on that, we're looking at the ending. There's a bit more detail to Alamina. It's we will come to that later. But yeah, just based on looking at the end, what do you see on the end, Wajahad?
So I see it's ya and noon, and
Yeah.
there's a fatha.
Fatha at the end, excellent. Yeah. So there's a fatha at the end, and fatha is a sign of nasbun from what we have learned so far. Good.
Yes, sir.
Now, there's another point to take away from this. The fact that you see raf'un, nasbun, jarun on them, and the fact that you know that these are properties of nouns, therefore, alhamdu must be a noun. Allahi, lafzul jalala, must be a noun. Rabbi is also a noun. And al-alamina is also a noun. So because they have these properties, like if you see something going by with 4 wheels, then you know that's either a car, a van, or a truck. Because it has properties of a car, a van, or a truck. It's the same concept here. The fact that these have properties of case ending, that tells you that nouns have case endings. Therefore, these must be nouns. So you'll be able to identify that these are all nouns too. Okay, that's good so far. So this is quite straightforward in terms of looking at the ending, in the sense that you only have to look right at the end and you're looking for one symbol, the u on, a and e in, and that will tell you straight away what the case ending is. That's okay. That's okay. No worries. That's fine. Don't worry about that. If you don't have access to the mic and if there's issues with your mic, that's fine. No worries. Yeah, inshallah, in about 10 minutes, we shall have a break. I think it's a good place to have a break now. So yeah, inshallah, I'll just cover a little bit more and then we shall have a break following that. This is with regards to the singular. This is with regards to the singular. These signs that we've just talked about, they are applicable to the singular words themselves. Don't worry about the number too much because the purpose is not the number right now. Right now, we are interested in property number 1, which is case ending. Right now, we're really interested in u, on, a, and e, in. Number will come in detail later. Number 2, the second column is jewels. Now, when it comes to identifying the case ending of jewels, it's slightly different. You don't simply just look at the end like we did with Muslimun, Musliman, and Muslimin. It was quite simple in the sense that we just looked right at the end, whatever it had, and then we knew what it was, what case ending it had, whether it was rafun, nasbun, or jarun. When it comes to jewels, it's different. you don't look at the end. You don't look at the vowel at the end. That would be a mistake when it comes to duals. What you actually look at is the last two letters, ani, aini, and aini. Those are your signs. Like in the singular, the sign was u on, a and e in. In the dual, the sign are ani, aini, aini. Ani, aini, aini. Those are your signs. So you have to be able to look out. Whenever you see a noun, you have to look out. Does it have a u, a, e ending? If it does, then it's straightforward. U on is raf, a an is nasb, e in is jar. But if it doesn't, then what does it have? If it has an ani and aini ending, then you know it's a dual, and it's slightly different when it comes to that. If it has an ani ending or the alif, then it's rafun. Then it's rafun. If it has an aini ending, so muslimani means two male Muslims, and the word muslimani, the case ending is rafun. I know that because of the ani ending. That's my sign that I'm looking at now. And then the word muslimaini also means two male Muslims. Remember I said case ending, because the case ending changes, it doesn't change the meaning of the word. The fact that a car changes from blue to green doesn't change the fact that it's a car at the end of the day. It's just a different color, but it's still what it is. So muslimani is still means two male Muslims. Muslimaini still means two male Muslims. And the sign I'm looking at here is the aini in muslimaini. In muslimaini, we're looking at aini here. That tells you that this noun muslimaini case ending is nasbun. It's nasbun. And then in the jar case ending, muslimaini, again, it's the same. So this one sign, this aini is a sign for two case endings. It can either be nasbun or jarrun. Now the question is, how do I know when it's nasbun and how do I know when it's jarrun? If the sign for both are the same, how do I differentiate between the two? Only context will tell you. When you learn the rules of Arabic grammar, you'll be able to figure it out from there by looking at where the word is, what's coming before the word, what's coming after the word, and figuring out what role that word plays in the sentence. You'll be able to figure out what case ending it will be. But that will all come later. We're still in the early stages of the Arabic language. So to go back again, when it comes to the singular or when it comes to u on, a and e in ending, it's very straightforward. You just look at the ending. If it has u on, the case ending is raf. If it has a and the case ending is nasb. If it has e in, the case ending is jar. If you have an ani, aini ending, then it's dual. So you can work out the meaning from that. You know, it means two of something. Earlier on, I introduced you to the term dhamma, fatha, and kasra. I said dhamma means u, one dhamma, yeah, like mu in that one there. That's what dhamma means. And then the double dhamma, I called it dhammatain. That's a jewel in Arabic. Dhammatain, like muslimain, muslimaini, dhammataini. And fatha, the double fatha, I call fathataini. That means two fathas. And the double kasra, I call kasrataini. So that's where it comes from. It comes from the jewel in Arabic. So ani is my sign that is raf'un. Aini is the sign that is nasbun, and aini is also the sign that is jarrun. And the last column is the plural. Muslimuna, again, just like the dual, it's slightly different when we're working out the case ending of the plural. It's not like the singular. We don't look at the right at the end. We look at the last two letters, which is una, ina, and ina. Una, ina, ina. Now this una, the wow or the una in general is my sign that it is raf'un. The ina is the sign that it is nasbun, and the ina is the sign that it is jarun again. So this in the nasb and the jar, it has the same sign. Again, context will tell you exactly what the case ending is in that particular sentence that you're looking at. Muslimuna means 3 or more male Muslims. 3 or more male Muslims is the plural. And the una is the sign that is raf'un. Muslimina again means the same thing. 3 or more male Muslims. The changing in case ending does not change the meaning. The changing in case ending does not change the meaning. So Muslimina also means 3 or more male Muslims. And then likewise, Muslimina again also means 3 or more male Muslim, but this time it's jar. So the sign is the same for nasb and jar. So before we break up, I just want to give an overview. So we started off by saying the Arabic language is made up of 3 types of words: noun, verbs, and particles. Then we went into the nouns and we broke it down into 4 properties. We said the 4 properties are case ending, number, gender, and type. So case ending, number, gender, and type. What we are discussing now is case ending. So we're just solely discussing case ending at the moment. Property number 1. We said by case ending, we refer to 3 attributes: raf'un, nasbun, and jarrun. And depending on the ending, depending on what type of ending it is, we can work out raf'un, nasbun, and jarrun. We can work out the case ending of that noun. If it's a un, then it's raf. If it's a and, then it's nasb. If it's a in, then it's jar. If it's an ani, which is dual, then it's raf. If it's aini, then it's nasb or jar. So aini twice. And then if it's una, it's raf, which is the masculine plural. Una is raf. And then ina is nasb or jar. So there's different signs and we have to look out for them. And from that, we can work out the case ending of the noun. And why is it important to know case ending? So we know what role the word is playing in the sentence. And then we can work out the meaning of that word. So inshallah, we will break up now for a 15 minutes break. So we'll return at 11:20 UK time. And during the break, just wind down. And if you have any questions, we can ask after the break. So you can think of all those questions if you have any after the break, inshallah. So we're back for the second session of Arabic. We have a question and which has already been answered by Muhammad Juma. So Jazakallah khair, Muhammad Juma. It's making life easier for me. So yeah, I'll touch on it anyway. So he's asking if raf, as I was talking earlier about the example like Daraba Muhammadun Zaidan, if the raf is who is doing the action, nasb is who is being done to, then what is the purpose of jar? Now raf is, as you said here, one of the rules of raf is the doer of the action. And there's other rules too as well. This is one rule. And nasb is who is being done to. There's other rules as well of nasb. This is one of the rules that I've mentioned here. What's the purpose of jar? And Muhammad Juma actually answered perfectly well. He said there's several purposes. Like we have several purposes, several roles of raf and several roles of nasb, we also have several roles of jar as well. One of them is the word that comes after of, as he mentioned here, and that will come later on during this course. We will talk about more and more roles of raf, nasb, and jar. And he gave an example, which was Kitabun Nasi, the book of the people. So An-Nasi in that example is jar. As you can see, it has a kasra at the end. And the reason it has that is because it's playing the role of the word that comes after of. So it is jar. And harf jar is another example as well itself. So that was just the one question that we had. Okay. I feel that there's been quite a lot that we've covered before the lesson. So I think I'm going to stick with the same level of content without actually introducing any more new concepts. I just need to finish off on the feminine version now, which is over here. And it's exactly the same thing. The only difference is now that these examples are feminine rather than masculine. What do we mean by that? So earlier on, Muslimun was an example of masculine nouns. Muslimun, all these are masculine nouns. So Muslimun meant one male Muslim. Muslimani meant 2 male Muslims. Muslimuna meant 3 male Muslims. They're all males, masculine. And here we have muslimatun, which means one female Muslim. This is feminine. So these are feminine examples. But the concept and the theory is all the same. We're looking at the ending to work out the case ending. Raf, nasb and jar. So we are looking at, when it comes to muslimatun, we are looking at this. Muslimatan, we are looking at that. Muslimatin, we are looking at this. Muslimatani, we're looking at that. We're looking at muslimataini, and we're looking at muslimataini, this ending here. Now this is new. Muslimatun, you're looking at atun. Muslimatin, we're looking at atin, and muslimatin, we're looking at atin here. So it's the same thing again, essentially, but these are examples of feminine nouns. In the singular, muslimatun means one female Muslim, and we're looking at the end, we see a dhammatain, two dhammas. That's the sign that muslimatun case ending is raf. The case ending of muslimatun is raf. Muslimatan, the case ending of that is nasb, because you can see fathatain on there. So fatha or fathatain is a sign of nasb, like we did earlier with muslimun. Muslimatin, we can see a kasratain under there. So that's the sign that it is jar. When it comes to the dual, muslimatani means two female Muslims. And again, ani is the same sign that we're looking at. Ani is the sign that it is raf. Muslimataini, aini is the sign that it is nasb. And muslimataini, aini is the sign that it is nasb, jar again. So nasb and jar had the same sign like in muslimani, muslimaini. And now we introduce another sign, which is atun, atin, atin. Muslimatun means three or more female Muslims. Three or more female Muslims. The sign here we're looking at is, as I've circled, atun. The atun is the sign that it is raf. And then in Muslimatin, again, means the same thing. Three or more female Muslims. And the sign here we're looking at is atin. That's the sign that it is nasb. And the same sign is also used for jar as well, which is muslimatin. The atin over there is the sign that it is jar. So how did muslimun become feminine? How did we make it feminine? We did that by adding ata marbuta at the end. We added ata marbuta at the end. If you look here, there's two types of ta. That round ta is called atta ul marbutatu, where we say ta marbuta to keep it short. And the open ta, which is this one here, is called atta ul maftuhatu or ta maftuha to keep it short. So ta marbuta, ta maftuha. We make a noun feminine in Arabic by the ta marbuta at the end. I'll talk about that in more detail in the next lesson. All you need to know is that it's feminine when you see a ta marbuta at the end. And that shouldn't confuse you. At the end of the day, you're still looking at the ending to work out the case ending. This ta marbuta is to do with gender, which is the other property of noun. We're not dealing with that just yet. We're just dealing with case ending. And the thing with the case ending, you'll do the same thing every single time, which is look at the end. On is raf, an is nasb, in is jar, ani is raf, aini is nasb or jar, una is raf, ina is nasb or jar, atun is raf, atin is nasb or jar. So these are your signs. You just put them together in a summary box, and you know that those are your signs, and then you'll just look for them wherever you find them. And just bear with me. I just need to get my charger so that the battery doesn't die. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. My battery just died. So I'm back now. Okay, so we just left off on saying how a noun becomes feminine. When you see the ta marbuta at the end, you know it's feminine, and I'll talk about that in a bit more detail next lesson. I don't want to bring in too many concepts at this stage. So we'll talk about that in the next lesson. The thing to take away is the signs. So the u on is the sign of raf, an is the sign of nasb, in is the sign of jar, ani is the sign of raf, aini is the sign of nasb and jar, and una is the sign of raf. Yeah, una is the sign of raf, ina is the sign of nasb and jar, and atun is the sign of raf, atin is the sign of nasb and jar. So I'll just summarize that here for you. Raf on, the signs are u, on, ani, una, and atun. These are all the signs of raf. Or it can be, atun can also be atu. So a double or single. Wherever you see a double vowel, know that you can have a single as well. That's raf. Nasb is and aini, the dual, atin or ati, which is the same as atin, just that it's a single. And jar, the sign is e. In aini, the dual, I should have put an extra one here. So aini, ina, which is the masculine plural, that's the nasb. So I've just added that onto there. Aini, the dual, and then ina again for jar, masculine plural. Tin, and that's basically the summary of what we've done now. So 3 types of words: noun, verb, particle. Ismun, fi'lun, harfun. Nouns has 4 properties. Case ending is one of them. Number, gender, and type. Going into case ending, there's 3 attributes: raf'un, nasbun, and jarun. And case ending means you look at the end of the noun and look at what you see on there. That will tell you whether it's raf'un, nasbun, or jarun. Now you have to know what you're looking for. U or on, ani, una, atun, atu tells you it's raf. If you see a and aini, ina, atin, ati, that's nasb. If you see e and aini, ina, atin, ati, that's jar. And that's about it. There's extra notes which you can read through in your own time. This will be part of your homework, which is basically to run this through the chart. So what we mean by that is you have the masculine chart and you have the feminine chart. The way you're going to recite this is starting from top to bottom. So you start with the singular, and in your head you constantly acknowledge the raf, nasb, jar. That's the order: raf, nasb, jar. So you say muslimun, musliman, muslimin. You memorize the muslimun chart like that. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin. So we'll start from here. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin. Then you move across. Muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini. Again, you know raf, nasb, jar. You picture it in your head. And then you move across. Muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. That's how you recite that table. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin. Muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini. Muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. Okay? That's the masculine chart. Then you do the same for the feminine. So you start with the singular again. Here. Muslimatun, muslimatan, muslimatin. Muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini. So the difference between the masculine and the feminine is that ta that you see here. That's the difference between the masculine and feminine. That ta marbuta. Then after the dual, you move over to muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin. That's how you recite it. So you recite that in combination. So going back to the masculine, Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin, Muslimani, Muslimaini, Muslimaini, Muslimuna, Muslimina, Muslimina, Muslimatun, Muslimatan, Muslimatin, Muslimatani, Muslimataini, Muslimataini, Muslimatun, Muslimatin, Muslimatin. So you memorize it like that. And the purpose of memorizing is to commit the whole structure in memory and to commit all the signs as well along with that into memory as well. That's the purpose of memorizing these tables, so that you're very quick in identifying the signs and you're very quick to attach an attribute to each noun. So you'll quickly say it's raf'un, nasbun, or jarun, as you know all the signs. So with mudarrisun, it wants you to run that through the table. So you're going to say mudarrisun, mudarrisan, mudarrisin, just to give you an example. I'll use the word mu'minun instead. Let me use the word mu'minun. So if you were to run mu'minun into the table, you say mu'minun, mu'minan, mu'minin, mu'minani, mu'minaini, mu'minaini, mu'minuna, mu'minina, mu'minina. And then the feminine, mu'minatun, mu'minatan, mu'minatin, mu'minatani, mu'minataini, mu'minataini, mu'minatun, mu'minatin, mu'minatin. So you'll have to memorize the table like that. There are two people, but it's a male and female, which ending would be used. Now the ending itself, I assume you mean which number would be used. Okay, the ending itself, the case ending, it depends on the role that the noun is playing in the sentence, not on the number of the people and not on the gender of the people. Number and gender are different properties. So with case ending, it's dependent on the role the noun is playing in the sentence, and we will talk about those roles later. With regards to the number and the gender, so you're asking if there are two people, but it's a male and female, which number and which gender would be used is the correct way to ask that question. And the answer will be, you will use the masculine. So if you had two Muslims, one was Aisha and another one was Zain, you would use Muslimani to refer to them. That's how it's done in Arabic. So whenever we have one male, then we use the masculine. Whenever we have one male, regardless of how many females there may be. So for example, Muslimuna, if we have one male Muslim and we have 10 female Muslims, we use Muslimuna to refer to all of them. Okay, that's good. And this is just a review which I'd like you to look at for the next lesson. And it just summarizes what I've just done earlier with that summary box of all the signs that you see. Another concept you have to be aware of, which we just sort of briefly touched over, is the noon sound. Like I said, you can have Muslimun and you can have Muslimu. And you can have Musliman or Muslima, Muslimin, Muslimi. So the U on are both signs of Raf. The A and are both signs of Nas. I in both signs of Jar. The difference is just the noon sound. So when you look at them, acknowledge, does it have a noon sound or does it not have a noon sound? And know that you can have it with the noon sound and you can have it without the noon sound. So it could be Muslimun and it could be Muslimu without the noon. Muslimun, listen to the end. Muslimun, you hear the noon at the end. Muslimu, there's no noon at the end. Musliman, you hear the noon at the end. Muslima, you don't hear the noon. Now, the noon sound, it's got nothing to do with case ending. That's a separate concept, and we will learn why something might have a noon sound and when something will not have a noon sound. That's a different rule in and of itself. What we've learned so far about the signs is still applicable, whether it has a noon sound or whether it doesn't. The signs are the same. It's just you may have it with the noon and you may have it without the noon. If you look at the jewel, Muslimani, the ani is still a sign of Raf. Well, you can have Muslima without the noon sound at the end. Muslimani, there was a noon there before, if you remember, from the previous table. Here, these are all noons there. Muslimani, Muslimaini, Muslimaini, Muslimuna, Muslimina, Muslimina. Now this table is showing you where it doesn't have the noon sound. Muslima, Muslimai, Muslimai, without the noon. So bear in mind, all the signs we have learned so far, they are still applicable, meaning you still refer to them as the signs of raf, nasb, and jar when you're trying to work out the case ending of the noun. But along with that, acknowledge that you may have the noon and you may not have the noon with that sign, as you can see in that table. Muslimuna, muslimu, that's still a sign of raf. So you can have two variants to all the signs that we've learned so far. You can have it with the noon sound and you can have it without the noon sound. Two, where it was muslimatun. So I think that's enough for this lesson. What I'm going to do now is going to set the homework. And if you do have any questions in the meantime, feel free to ask or drop it in the chat box if you prefer to do it that way. So if you all should have this document, which is the Arabic work booklet. This is the booklet that will be used to set homework. Homework is already on there, and I will allocate each week how much of it should be done. So I'll allocate this week's homework for the next lesson that we have. So in exercise 1, once you've memorized the Muslimun chart, so don't attempt this exercise unless you've memorized that chart, the Muslimun and Muslimatun chart. Then you use the following words and run it through the table by yourself. Mudarrisun, run that through the table. Mustaghfirun, run that through the table. And next week I'll pick on some of you as well. So make sure all of you have prepared this, and I'll ask some of you to run it through the table during the class. Exercise number 2. Page number, please. Okay. So this is page number 4. And page number 5, I'd like you to do as well. Yes. So page 4 and 5 is the homework for next week. Page 4 and page 5. In exercise 2, what you have to do is, okay, good. What you have to do is you have to circle the correct case ending and highlight its sign. So what I want you to do in this exercise is, if you're looking at the word kitabin, you need to circle, is it raf, or is it nasb, or is the case ending jar? So you circle whatever you think it is. R stands for raf, N stands for nasb, J stands for jar. And in kitabin, you need to highlight the sign. So put a circle around, I'll do the first one for you. You'll put a circle around jar, and you'll circle the kasratain, because that's the sign that this noun case ending is jar. So that's what you have to do for this exercise number 2. Circle the correct case ending and highlight the sign. In the page 5, you have to fill in the empty spaces. So the first one says case ending. So you look at the word kitaba, you'll fill that in with whatever you think the case ending is. Is it raf, is it nasb, is it jar? Then it asks you about the number. Based on the table that we've done, you know ani means dual, you know una means plural masculine, and you know aton means plural feminine. You should be able to answer the number that it is. If you mention plural, then mention is it masculine plural or is it feminine plural. So here it's asking about number, and if it's a plural, then mention is it a masculine plural or is it feminine plural. And that's all. Once you've memorized the table, you'll be able to do that nice and easy. And then the last bit is the noon sound present? So kitaba, does it have a noon sound at the end? If it doesn't, then you write no. If it does, then you write yes in that, or Y or N. So it's just, these exercises are just to make you practice a bit more. Practice the concepts and apply the concept so that they're more solidified in your minds. So I've covered everything I want to cover for today. Does anybody have questions that they want to ask or any inquiries? Okay. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I look forward to seeing you all at the next session.